I've done quite a bit of Genshin challenges over the years, but nothing prepared me for one of the most painful challenges yet, farming free-to-play Primogems. You see, there is a character named Skirk that has been basically confirmed by Genshin to be releasing in less than 100 days. So me, being ambitious as I was, decided to create a brand new Genshin account to farm for 100 days straight, with the ultimate goal of obtaining 100,000 free-to-play Primogems to hopefully get Skirk and all of her constellations as a free-to-play. As I went through this challenge, I discovered some secret Primogem farming methods that I didn't even know about. So hopefully this video will help all of you free-to-play players out there. And if I'm missing anything, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, strap in, grab a snack, and enjoy this ride. On the very first day, I created my brand new Genshin account and decided to name it Voltyea, with the number 1 being changed every day when I log in to reflect the current day I was in. Since this Genshin account doesn't have any particular theme, I was able to use Amber throughout the first few hours of the account. I got to Adventure Rank 5 and was able to claim 10 blue fates from my mailbox. I did my first tempo on a standard banner and got my first was of course a weapon. That kinda sucks. Luckily enough, I also encountered an unusual Helichurl next to a tree, which if you didn't know, you can get an achievement for defeating him. By going through the beginner domains, I was able to get Lisa and Kaya, who will be helping out this free-to-play account tremendously in this challenge. After a bit of farming, I reached AR 10, where I got to collect another 10 fates from the mail in order to wish. This time I got Razor, who was decent, but not who I wanted. But I also got a Favonius Lance in the same pull. With some help exploring in Genshin Co-op, I was able to reach AR 18 and completed a Mondstadt Archon quest. Since there were a bunch of events going on, I decided to speedrun the Lantern Ride event. The story and minigames took around 3 hours to complete, but I got a lot of Primogems from him, and even a free Liyue character, where I picked Shincho as he is the best option for a new account. After an 11-hour marathon, I managed to farm 2,780 Primogems, which was pretty exhausting but worth it at the same time. To build this account, I focused on farming character ascension materials, since it was the most efficient thing to farm at a low world level. I used my resources to ascend Shincho, and gave him some relevant artifacts like the Exile set, since it helps with regenerating energy for both Shincho and the whole team. Being at a low adventure rank, the enemies are relatively easy to fight, so you can just equip artifacts with the relevant main stats and it will work out just fine in combat. Anyways, I progressed through the story and fought Andreas to unlock a weekly boss. At low adventure rank, weekly boss drops artifacts that are higher tier, like you normally would get. So this was the most resin efficient thing to farm when starting out in Genshin. So I prioritized farming them first before anything else. With the artifacts that I got, I decided to enhance them since the base stats were good for extra damage. On day 3, I went to Natlan for the first time. I had to do an introductory quest to meet my little buddy Saurian. I leveled up some of my weapons and characters to hopefully prepare for the difficult challenges that lies ahead in Natlan. I made my way to Natlan in order to complete a world quest here. Back in version 5.3, there was a limited time event that rewards 400 Primogems for completing the quest and exploring in the region. So since I was desperate, I spent the next 3 hours completing everything. Before that though, I unlocked a Sumeru statue in order to resonate with the Dendro element for Traveler, and raised Lisa by giving her all the Elemental Mastery artifact sets, in order to take advantage of one of the most broken reactions in the game. Yes, I am talking about Hyper Bloom. Hyper Bloom does a lot of damage with a relatively low investment. And best of all, even with free characters, I was able to solo everything by myself. This made the quest doable, and I was able to complete it within an hour. I continued on exploring and doing a few other world quests in Natlan, and over the course of 3 hours, I was able to reach AR 25 and eventually got my whole exploration progress to 80%, which allowed me to collect the 400 Primogems. On top of all the exploration that I did throughout the day in Natlan, I got to 5,994 Primogems. I bought a few Acquaint Fates using Stardust, and did another tempo on a standard banner, and got a sacrificial sword. This was actually really good, as this weapon is Shincho's best in slot. So I got a nice upgrade for him after enhancing my new weapon all the way to 50. Since I got to AR 25, I was able to obtain a free Lynette, and also completed the Ascension domain to increase my world level. And more importantly, I got 2 more Acquainted Fates. I leveled up a few characters and ascended them in order to claim more fates, and eventually got enough for another temple. This time I got Yenfei, who I decided to replace Lisa with in order to create a Bungeon team. I ascended her to level 40 and ended my day here. I spent a majority of day 4 just farming in Liyue. I pretty much just did world quests and collected chests and all the geoculi that I came across while exploring. As a day 1 Genshin player, this sort of took me back to version 1.0, since I was mostly just enjoying the scenery, and being able to see chests in the beginning regions were also a nice throwback. I even made beginner mistakes such as getting stranded in the middle of an ocean, which was kinda embarrassing. But what sucked even more was after I asked for help in co-op, I got teleported all the way back to land, so I had to ice bridge slowly back to the island anyways. Since I was in co-op already, we just did more exploration and questing together in Liyue. I even made it to Chenyu Vale to farm a bit later. So on day 5, I was back on stream, so I did some co-op bossing, aka Voltyea getting carried by his viewers. Anyways, I chose to farm Primogems ship because Yanfei needed a boss drops to ascend with it, while alternating between Oceanids since this boss was a pain in the ass to fight. This boss also took the longest time to fight, because no matter how strong you are, Oceanid is impossible to one-shot. Anyways, after farming bosses a few times, I decided to check my Primogems counter as of now. But if I claim this... I've been hoarding this for the whole 5 days I have on this account. I got 2,260, I guess, Primogems, which takes me to 10,000 Primos now. Yep, within 5 days of starting this Genshin account, I managed to farm up to 10,000 Primogems. So how hard can this challenge get? On day 6, I finally started a Liyue Archon quest. I took my time admiring Rex Lapis in his full glory with my Twitch chat, and took some photos for memories' sake, and it was pretty funny. In general, the Liyue Archon quest took about 3 hours or so to complete, and the boss battles here were relatively easy since my characters at this point were pretty well built, so I was able to clear the Archon quest easily. I continued on a day with the Dragon Spine World quest. This quest is generally difficult for new players, and even though I helped a few new players with Dragon Spine in the past, it was nice being at the other end of the spectrum for once. Dragon Spine was also the first region to reward Primogems for every chest opened, so just by exploration alone gave me a good amount of Primogems. I was able to complete a few quests along the way, and collected a few chests. Eventually I completed the Dragon Spine questline, and ended up with just over 11,000 Primogems. I started day 7 by first enhancing my sword for Kaya, to prepare for the upcoming Dainsleif questline. This interlude quest wasn't really difficult, but there were some domains that I needed to complete, so thanks to my Burngeon team, I was able to do a lot of damage. The questline was also separated into 2 parts, with the second part being a bit more difficult because of this domain. It was also the introduction of the Abyss Herald, who used to be annoying to deal with before Genshin got the Dendro element. But thanks to Kaya and Dendro Traveler, the Hydro Shield was pretty easy to destroy. But yeah, I was able to complete the whole quest in around an hour or so. Before I ended the day, I also rushed through Kazuha's interlude in order to move on to Inazuma. The next day, I decided to try out my team to see if they are strong enough for the early floors of the Spiral Abyss. Since Yanfei was built with Elemental Mastery, she was able to overload the Electro Slimes easily. Even at Adventure Rank 30, I was able to clear the first floors without much trouble. Floor 3 honestly was the most difficult one for new players. I had a little trouble with it since I didn't bring any animal characters, but in the end, I was able to clear it with all 9 stars. The Hydro Abyss mages were pretty easy with Dendro, so I cleared up to floor 4 and decided to stop here since I didn't have a second team built for floor 5 and beyond. After clearing floor 3 and 4 respectively, I was able to obtain Xiangling and Kale for free. I even got to AR34 as well, which means I will be raising my world level again soon. To farm up more Primogems, I decided to do some co-op exploration in Dragon Spine, along with a few viewers from my stream. Since I was already done with the world quests in this region, I mostly explored and collected both chests and crimson agates. After we were done, I spent the rest of the resins on more bosses to ascend my characters, to prepare for my world level increase. I spent day 9 doing questing to get more adventure EXP. Since I still had some Mondstadt quests that I needed to complete, I started off with Deluxe's story quest. The whole questline was relatively quick and only took me around 20 minutes to complete. After that, I ran into Klee, and during her story quest, I was able to get Adventure Rank 35. Since there was an Ascension quest, I took a detour and decided to complete the domain first. The enemies here are definitely getting stronger and I could no longer one-shot them, but Burngeon was still coming in handy as it does enough damage to get me through the Ascension domain along with raising my world level to 4. So day 10 came along and I did a Chasm world quest. This quest was generally easy as I just had to follow the quest markers to complete my tasks, which was very straightforward. Luckily, this quest also allowed co-ops as well. So as usual, I just did this quest with viewers. Eventually, we were able to complete the quest to unlock the underground chasm. But I chose to remain on the upper part and explore instead. After an hour of exploring or so, I went to unlock my Teapot by just going through the Teapot questline. This quest was mostly just yapping, so I just skipped through the dialogue and unlocked my Teapot after I finished the quest. I mostly just put my furniture down, but we could actually get a lot of Primogems from the Teapot. So hopefully I will get to show off some Primogems tips for this in the future. Before I ended my day, I went to solo the Valen. And since this was a weekly boss, it dropped a 5-star artifact at AR 35. I immediately went and leveled it up to 20. And while my substats were okay, at this point I only cared about the attack percent that I got. I got some fates from the Dragon Spine tree and decided to do a temple. I managed to get only a weapon. I desperately ascended a few characters and got enough fates to do another temple on a beginner wish. And I managed to get 3 4-stars, so it was worth it for me in the end. On day 11, I spent a majority of the day questing by myself. I was able to ascend Yanfei to level 70, which means that she will be able to do more damage with Burngen. I also crafted a Mappa Mare weapon since it's a free catalyst with elemental mastery substats that will come in handy for Burngen. I raised the weapon to level 40 before I ran out of materials. To test out my damage with the new upgrades, I started Shenhe's story quest. This quest was actually pretty difficult since I just ascended my world level. But thanks to my upgrades, I was able to keep up with the damage. After completing the story, I did some exploration in Chasm for Primogems. I finished some quests. I also made my way to Inazuma, which had a difficulty spike with the enemies that I encountered in the overworld. I focused on exploration in Inazuma and unlocked some waypoints before I finished up for the day. I started the next day by taking a peek at my Primogems count, before continuing on my exploration in Inazuma. I decided to unlock the whole map to prepare for the Inazuma Archon quest. Before that, I started the main 5.4 Flagship event. I completed the main quest in around an hour, and sped through the event minigames, and got a decent haul of Primogems, and also an event weapon for my troubles. On day 13, I made my way to Seirai Island, and started a world quest here. The world quest chain gave a good amount of Primogems, and the final boss that I had to beat was decently easy because of Yanfei's overload. After that, I was able to get another 40 Primogems for completing the quest. I also went to start day 1 of 4 of Zulumi Islands' world quest. This quest actually takes 4 days total to complete, so I just want to get it out of the way first. Exploration in this area was actually pretty difficult, mainly due to the Rift Hounds that I had to fight. But with my Genshin experience, I was able to complete day 1 of the quest. For the rest of the day, I did another Inazuma world quest and spent resin on world boss materials. Afterwards, I ended up day 13 with 16.5k Primogems. On day 14, I finally started the Inazuma Archon quest. Inazuma's questline was pretty long with a mix of dialogue and combat. In the middle of the story, I also got to adventure rank 40, which automatically raised my world level to 5. After completing Ayaka and Yoimi's story quests, I continued on the Inazuma Archon quest. The first Raiden Shogun battle was mostly a test of how long I could last. Since about a few minutes, Genshin sent us to another cutscene. An hour of dialogue skipping later, I made my way to Tenshukaku to challenge Signora. The first part of the battle was pretty easy as Burngen did a lot of damage. Everything changed, however, once I got to the second half of the Signora fight. You see, between the DOT and Burngen taking my own HP, this team also didn't have any healers besides Shincho's ranged swords. So this fight was definitely tough. My characters had their work cut out for them. But in the end, I pulled out a miracle and managed to defeat Signora. Afterwards, I completed the Inazuma Archon quest. I claimed some rewards in the Sacred Sakura tree and ended my day. With the month half over, I decided to challenge the Imaginarium Theater. Thanks to trial characters, I was able to attempt the easy mode difficulty and quickly completed the challenge. This quickly rewarded me with 220 Primogems, so it was a lot for the time spent. I invited people for co-op and did some weekly bosses for 5-star artifacts. Since I was at AR 40, I also went to farm some weapon ascension materials. With the hardest difficulty unlocked now, it was the most efficient domain to farm at my level. Thanks to co-op, we cleared the domain relatively quickly. I managed to gather 10 more blue fates, and did another temple, and managed to get a new character. After that, I basically ascended my Mappa Mare weapon to level 60. I spent the majority of day 16 exploring and completing some world quests for Primogems. I also returned to Liyue to do the same things. I managed to complete a lot of quests for my reputation level. After that, I went on to complete character story quests, such as Xiao's, Gangyu's, for a bit of Primogems. The story quests in general were pretty long, but in the end, it was worth it. I went to Chenyu Vale to complete some quests there as well, for some fast primos, and also got my reputation level to 6 for my troubles. This was actually huge, because I was able to get the Liyue Treasure Compass blueprint, and after forging it, the Treasure Compass will help immensely with exploration in Liyue. I started day 17 by leveling up my Teapot level, since I could also get some Primogems from it. I also attempted the Realm of Tempered Valor event, which is a new account with how many characters built. I struggled a lot. I only managed to clear floor 8 by myself, but it wasn't enough for the 30 Primogems. I went on to do some quests in Inazuma, and also collected some chests. Besides that, I worked on more story quests for more adventure EXP. I managed to finish 4 story quests in a span of 2 hours, so I was actually pretty proud of myself. Afterwards, I leveled up and collected some rewards from a sacred sakura tree and ended my day here. On day 18, I did some one-time domains in order to get some fast adventure EXP. I could have done these early on, but I kind of just saved it for emergencies like now. Each domain rewarded me with around 400 EXP and 40 Primogems each. I also worked on my Adventurer's Handbook for single player challenges. This was another great source of adventure EXP, without the need to use any resins. After a bit of farming, I was able to reach AR 45, which in my opinion is the true beginning of Genshin. At AR 45, I was able to unlock the last artifact and talent domain, which means I can start efficiently farming for 5-star artifacts. I did the emblem artifacts because it consists of the best artifacts for a new account. Co-oping definitely helped out the most, as I was able to get pretty nice pieces. I upgraded the artifact that I got and managed to equip them on Kaya, who hopefully will get a nice damage boost from it. On the next day, I started the Chasm underground questline. The enemies in here were relatively high level, but with newly enhanced artifacts, I was able to put up a fight. The world quest here was pretty long and grueling, especially with another difficulty spike in the elite enemies that we had to fight. Thankfully, the suffering was worth it, as the whole questline gave a good amount of Primogems, and exploring in Chasm was worth it because of the rewards. After completing the quests, I ended up with 20,964 Primogems. I got my Lumen Stone to level 6 for more Acquainted Fates. Before I finish off the day, I went to complete the Ascension domain with time to spare, and raised my world level to 6. On day 20, I did some co-ops and farmed some character Ascension materials. I was able to ascend Yanfei to level 80, as well as Xinqiu, and of course my main DPS Kaya. With those 3 at level 80, I also claimed my fates, and did a tempo on a standard banner. Even though I didn't get a 5-star, I actually fulfilled my wishes. But for 4 stars though, I hope I get a Sacrificial Fragment. I think Sacrificial Fragment is probably what I want most for my Yanfei. Character-wise, I want Bennett, Fischl, and the likes of like Around or something will be good. Sucrose, Fischl, yeah. All of those characters will be nice. Oh! Nice. This weapon will be nice for my Burngen team. Wait. Another one? Okay then. So yeah, that happened. Anyways, I raised my Sacrificial Fragment to level 40, and I already surpassed Mappa Mare, so I replaced it without a second thought. I did some exploration in Dragonspine, and after collecting a few more chests, for the first time ever across all my accounts, I managed to 100% Dragonspine. To start off day 21, I decided to complete the Sakura Cleansing World quest. This quest had a bunch of puzzles that I had to solve, but since I've done it multiple times in the past already, it was relatively easy. The questline also unlocks an underground area in Inazuma, so it's pretty important if you want to 100% the region. Even at world level 6, the enemies here were pretty easy with Yanfei's Burngen. And ironically, I had to watch out for Burngen more, since the reaction explosion does self-inflicted damage to me. The final tumor fight was a bit more difficult since reaction damage wasn't really effective against it, so I had to slowly chip its HP down with normal attacks. After defeating a tumor, I completed a world quest and got 50 Primogems, which took our Primogem count to 21,811. I did some exploration and managed to obtain 10 Acquainted Fates once again. On my next temples, I got Xinyan. No! I decided to ascend a few of my characters for their fates, and did my final pull. Hopefully I get Tainari here, like I have Tainari in my world. I mean, I wouldn't really mind if I get... I shouldn't have exit, I saw Chi-Chi. This is gonna be cursed. Alright, fingers crossed. 5-star? I'm closing my eyes. No! I already told you this will happen. Who changed Shishi last minute? Shishi left? Needless to say, I rage quit for a day. On day 22, I worked on my characters by farming for artifacts. I managed to get some decent upgrades on my emblem pieces for Shincho. I also did co-ops for a combat event and mostly got carried. In the end, I was able to get all the Primogem rewards from the event, so that was nice. I also spent an hour or so doing Mizuki's story quest in order to get a limited time extra 60 Primogem reward. After that, I went to start the Farmer's Treasure World quest by first rescuing a dude in jail. The quest was combat heavy, so it was a nice challenge for me. After completing the quest, I was able to get the Amenoma Kageuchi weapon blueprint. I farmed some weapon ascension materials in co-op, and crafted a sword for Kaya. I enhanced the weapon all the way to level 80, so now his stats are looking good. I just spent the rest of the day exploring Chenyu Vale with the help of co-op. I managed to end the day with a little bit under 23.5k Primogems. I started day 23 by completing the Neko daily commission. After that, I decided to resume the Tsurumi Island questline. Rift Hounds were still the most annoying enemies that this account had to deal with, because without a healer, my characters were having a rough time. It took a while, but after many sacrifices later, I finally defeated it. Funny enough, that was the hardest part of the quest, since I was able to cruise through the region afterwards. I also went to complete the Stillwater Flows questline in Sanganomia Shrine. This quest was actually super good, because each subquest rewarded Primogems. It was super quick too, so I was able to get 120 Primogems in a span of 10 minutes. On day 24, I went to complete the main Chenyu Vale World quest. This was actually my first time doing it, across all my accounts, but I was able to unlock the new area in Chenyu Vale through this quest. It was also pretty short, though with a lot of dialogue. But after an hour or so, I was able to complete the quest. I finished up Chenyu Vale's exploration in co-op. Thanks to the help of the treasure compass, I also managed to get 100% in all the regions in Chenyu Vale for the first time ever. With that, I was able to reach 24,650 Primogems as well, which was worthwhile in the end. So on day 25, you might notice something on the left part of your screen. I recently got a new VTuber model, so what you see now is yours truly. Anyways, I focused on world quests in Inazuma during the day. I started the Orobashi's Legacy quest chain, and as someone that isn't the brightest when it comes to solving puzzles, thankfully the quest was available in co-op, so I had viewers join to help me out. At the end of a quest, there was a boss that we had to defeat together, but since we're in co-op, we made quick work of it, and completed the world quest all together. After that, I did a bit of Chasm underground exploration, and utilized the treasure compass to find chests. I also went to day 3 of the Tsurumi Island questline. I met back up with the Rift Hounds again, and as always, they were a pain to fight with its team. Luckily this time, my characters were stronger, so I was able to defeat them without any casualties. Just like previously, the rest of the quest was pretty easy, so I was able to complete the world quest. At this point, I was still averaging around at least 1000 Primogems every day, so that was nice to cap off day 25. On day 26, I did my weeklies and farmed for some artifacts with no luck. I also did a co-op fishing event. The event was super quick to do for the Primogems that we get, so that was really nice. Afterwards, I went to complete Ito's story quest in order to unlock an interlude quest. Later that day, I decided to finish the final part of the Tsurumi World quest. The final battle was pretty easy because Overload Yanfei basically gets free reactions against the boss. So I managed to complete the quest in around 30 minutes. To finish off the day, I also did the next part of Dainsleif's interlude in Chasm. I upgraded a few artifacts to help prepare me for the quest, and got a pretty good flower piece for Denzo Traveler. During the questline, I was able to reach AR49 as well, before completing the interlude. On day 27, I started off the day by doing a wish on a beginner's banner. I managed to get Fischl and another Razor copy. I spent the majority of the day exploring Inazuma, mostly collecting the oculi that I came across, while exploring for chests along the way for Primogems. With this account, I actually explored places I've never been to before, and it was rewarding with all the chests that I managed to collect. For the first time ever, I also managed to get my Inazuma Statue of the 7 to level 10 as well. After that, I went into the solo domains in Liyue. Since my character's level were all higher than the domains' enemies, I had no trouble clearing them. I went on to clear all the Liyue domains and was able to level up to adventure rank 50. I immediately went to challenge the Ascension domain. And to no one's surprise, I had to face level 90 enemies here. Even though this domain was timed, I guess my characters were pretty well built at this point since I was able to clear the domain on my first try. I also leveled up a bunch of my characters in order to obtain some fates. With a quick sneak peek, it turned out that I had 28,697 Primogems. The very next day, I descended into Enkanomiya. With my newest ascended world level, the enemies all had red HP, which means that they were highly dangerous. This whole region was pretty tough, so I enjoyed the quest and exploration here. With the chests I opened in the region, I was able to level up my Sacred Sakura tree again from the electro sigils that I gathered. This allowed me to claim more fates, so it was time for another temple. This time I got another sacrificial sword, so it wasn't too bad. I continued on my Enkanomiya exploration, and eventually got to the climax of the world quest. It took me a while, but we managed to defeat Angel, thus completing the Enkanomiya quest in the end. I continued day 28 by doing some TCG. I actually played a lot of TCG when it first got released, but kinda lost interest in it after a while. But this game mode rewarded Primogems for playing, so I had to get through it. After a few hours, I was able to get a decent amount of Primogems, so I say it was worth it. On day 29, I did a Perilous Trail Interlude quest. The domain puzzles for the quest were a bit confusing for me, but with a bit of luck and problem solving skills, I actually got through them. This was honestly one of my favorite quests in Genshin. So getting to rewatch this cutscene felt really nice. After that, I went through the Spiral Abyss. I went from floor 5 all the way to floor 8 without losing a single star. So I guess my characters were pretty strong now. Floor 9 was also pretty easy, and I managed to get 9 stars here as well. For floor 10, the first 2 chambers were pretty easy 3 stars. However, the 3rd chamber had less time, so I kept on failing because I just basically ran out of the time. I eventually got 9 stars on this chamber, but I didn't record it, so you just gotta take my word for it, or check out my stream VODs. So to end the month, I started the Arunara World Quest. In case you didn't know, this questline is one of the longest in Genshin, with all the sub-quests and puzzles taking up a good amount of time. On the bright side, there are a lot of Primogems to collect. I spent like 5 hours doing this quest, and I don't think I was even halfway done, but I reached a good stopping point to the quest. So with 30 days of farming, I was able to collect 32,957 Primogems. These past 30 days were definitely exhausting, but kinda rewarding at the same time. Originally, I intended to farm 100 days straight with a goal of getting all of Skirk's constellation when she releases. But to be honest, I might have gotten a little burnout from doing the daily 10-hour Genshin grinding. I know I haven't even done much of Sumeru, or even Fontaine and Natlan, but I feel like this account could be put on hold until who knows, maybe even Snazaya releases, or even after Genshin's story concludes. But hey, I'll just have to see what happens. This video took quite a long time to make, so I would appreciate it if you would consider leaving a comment or give this video a thumbs up. I plan on doing other Genshin challenges, so if you like these kind of videos, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.